Sairam, today we will take up a topic which is not frequently heard about. Before we talk about the topic, we have to visit the kind of teachings which this holy land of India has given to the mankind and the world. There are lots and lots of teachings, narrations, and advising the way of life, placement of facts, and certain things. But whatever is narrated, mainly the philosophy which is being narrated and delivered to the mankind in a poetic manner is called a Gita. The most common or the most popular amongst all the Gitas is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. There have been Gitas much before Bhagavad Gita. There are Gitas which are after Bhagavad Gita also. There are Bhashyas. Bhashyas are interpretations and excerpts and commentaries on every scripture, including Bhagavad Gita. Every Gita has commentaries on it. So, in these teachings, there have been Gitas which are before Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and there have been many Gitas after Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, we have understood what a Gita is. Now, there are approximately more than 50 Gitas, spiritual teachings, narrations of truth, making us understand the ultimate realities, law of divine, law of dharma, law of karma. There are several Gitas. Amongst all the Gitas, the first Gita which came to the world is Avadhuta Gita. Avadhuta Gita, which was narrated by the primordial master or a teacher or Adi Guru, Dattatreya, to Parashurama. This is the first Gita. But after that, there were several instances that occurred. Based on that, there are several examples which were made out of. Based on that, those stories were narrated and they also got the name Gita. Today we are talking about a very, very profound and a very deep Gita, which is called Vyadha Gita. What is Vyadha Gita? Today we will only go into the introduction and preamble of Vyadha Gita, transliteration and narration of Vyadha Gita, which is going to be quite elaborate. We will take it up again. This we will call it as introduction to Vyadha Gita. Vyadha Gita was introduced or narrated by Sage Markandeya. Markandeya, Rishi Markandeya or Bhakta Markandeya, He narrates this to Yudhishthira, Dharmaraya Yudhishthira, during his Vanavasa. Vanavasa is one of the vasas where when they have been asked to go on Vanavas, the Pandavas have been sent out. When they are in the jungles, Vana is jungle, Vasa is to live in. When they are in Vanavas or living in the jungles, Dharmaraya Yudhishthira comes across sage Markandeya. Dejected and disappointed, Yudhishthira reaches out to Markandeya in the deep jungles, and in their conversation, Rishi, Maharshi, Bhakta, Markandeya tells him to read Vyadha Gita. So Yudhishthira is surprised. He says, Vyadha is a butcher. Is there a Gita which is narrated even by a butcher? So that is when Markandeya tells him, do not belittle anybody. Truth can come from anybody. This is all about karma and dharma, right? So you don't judge just because the Gita has been narrated by a butcher. So after listening to these words of the Bhakta Markandeya or sage Markandeya, Yudhishthira gets very intrigued. He'll ask, can you please narrate the Vyadha Gita? So the sage, the rishi, gladly accepts and they settle down. And then begins the story. Before narrating the story, before narrating the Gita, the incident that occurred is what first Markandeya explains. Today in this session, we are going to talk about the incident that occurred before the Vyadha Gita is being discussed, right? So, Bhakta Markandeya or Rishi Markandeya starts narrating the story to Yudhishthira. Once it so happened that there was a very great revered sage by the name Kaushika. Kaushika, it's not Kaushika Maharshi. This is another sage or saint called Kaushika. He is sitting under a tree and he is got into a deep meditative state. He is meditating and he is performing his penance and tapasya. When he is performing his tapasya, it is a big sin to bring any obstacles to a person who is performing penance, tapasya. Tapasya you should never disturb. Tapasya bhang करना सबसे गलत बहुत ही दुष्कर्म होगा. तो कभी भी हमें किसी की तपस्या को भंग नहीं करना. We should never interfere and disturb anybody who is in a penance. It is the biggest of the dushkarma or the bad deed. So this Kaushika is sitting under a tree in a meditative state. Suddenly, there is a little bit of a ruffle and sound and commotion from the tree. But Kaushika is unperturbed. He is not disturbed at all. He is absolutely in a state of bliss. He is in a meditative state. Suddenly, a branch and few leaves, dry leaves, fall on Kaushika. And that falls because on the branch of the tree, a crane, a bird crane, and the crow are fighting. They are hurting one another. So, because of that, the leaves fall on Kaushika and he gets disturbed. He comes out of his meditative state or his penance. He just stares at those two birds. The moment he stares at those two birds, without knowing, he would have gained so much of yogic siddhis, abilities, that the moment he stares at those two birds, they burn into ashes and they fall. And Kaushika is very proud of himself. He feels, oh, look at my power. So now, because of this penance that I have performed, I have got all the siddhis. I have reached, I have arrived. Develops a tremendous level of ego. Then Kaushika, with that pride, starts walking towards a nearby village. And he stands in front of the first house of a Brahmana. And in seeking alms, bhiksha, he says, Bhavati bhikshan dehi. Please give me some food, bhiksha, for me to eat. Then from inside the house, a lady shouts and says, Yes, I shall feed you. I shall give you the alms, the bhiksha. Please wait. So Kaushika is standing. And that lady's husband comes into the house. So the lady comes, at the doorstep, she gives him a bowl of water to wash his legs, hands and face, gives him a towel to wipe himself. She invites him home her husband, she takes him in, she serves him food, and this sage is standing at the doorstep. He again shouts, Bhavati Bhikshan Dehi. She says, wait. After serving her husband with the food and everything, children, parents, in-laws, everybody is fed, and finally she comes with the bhiksha. She offers it to Kaushika. Kaushika takes a step back and says, You know who I am? I am a great saint called Kaushika. I have all the siddhis. So my anger and fury can burn anybody or anything into ashes. So you have no idea. How did you ignore me? Why did you ignore me? To that the lady says, Hey Kaushika, listen to me. I am not that meek and powerless two birds on the tree, the crow and the crane, that you just stared at them and they fell, they became ashes and fell. I am not that. I am a pativrata. The moment she said, Kaushika is taken aback. He's walked for many hours, and this instance has just happened quite quite in a quite a distance, a faraway place. How did she know? So he very humbly accepts the alms, the bhiksha, and then he asks mother, how did you know? This is something which is a siddhi, which is the one which you get out of lot of penance. which I did. But you being a homemaker, how did you get to know? How did you know what happened? So far away, and nobody, I have not told anybody, and it just happened a couple of hours ago, and I walked from there, and first house I have stood at is yours, and you say narrated everything that happened there. How do you know this? This is something possible only for someone who is enlightened. I am enlightened, but so are you. How did this happen to you? So then she says, for enlightenment, penance, and meditation, tapasya, sadhana, those are not the only way. They are the ways. But being completely committed to Swadharma, the Dharma, and being meticulous, respecting the institution that you belong to. For example, Pativrata is someone who belongs to the institution of marriage. Ekapatni Vratastha, the male, he belongs to the institution of marriage. If we are living by the oaths of marriage, both husband and a lady of the house is called as Pativrata, the man of the house is called as Ekapatni Vratastha. So as long as we both are doing that, we also get enlightenment. To this, the sage is very shocked. He's surprised. Says, I want to know more. I want to understand what is this. I was not aware of this at all. Please teach me. He becomes very humble and meek. She says, look, as part of my household duties, I have to do it. I do not have the time to teach you about this thing, though I know. I very well know, and I learned it from somebody. So please go and ask him. Says, who is that? She says, there is a butcher in Mithila. Mithila is the birthplace of Sita Maya, and it was governed by Raja Janaka. So she says, go to Mithila. There is a Vyadha, and that Vyadha will teach you the universal truth and secrets of the universal truth and path of enlightenment, several paths to enlightenment. Kaushika is even more shocked. He says, first I come to a homemaker and she is enlightened without doing any sadhanas, without performing any siddhis, without performing any penance, no meditation, nothing. She is enlightened, much more enlightened than me. There are no different levels of enlightenment. However, just as a matter of speech, just take it as it is said. So she is much more evolved than me. And now she is asking me to go to someone who I consider to be lower than her, who's a butcher. What is happening? She says, you go to that Vyadha. His name is Dharma Vyadha. It is not butcher of Dharma, butcher who follows Dharma. His name is Dharma Vyadha. Vyadha Dharma, either ways. Vyadha Dharma, butcher who is governed by Dharma. So go to him. He will give you the secrets of the universe. He will tell you that he will teach you anybody and everybody without performing penance, yoga, sadhana, meditation, dhyana, nothing. How can they get enlightened and get mukti and moksha? So Kaushika is shocked. He says, are you sure? He says, please go. I am busy. I've given you alms. Please have your meal, wash yourself, and you go towards Mithila. So then when it happens, this Kaushika Rishi, yeah, he has his meal and washes and gets ready and heads towards Mithila. When he goes to Mithila, a rishi, a brahmana, pious, has always lived a very pure life, has to walk into the market. From the market, he has to go to the outskirts of the city where there is a butchery. There are several butchers standing there selling buffalo meat. So, right in one amongst them is Vyadha Dharma. He has to identify. First of all, as a rishi, he has to go to a butchery. He is completely resisting. He is not able to think about going into a butchery. How can I? I am a rishi. I am a siddha. I am a enlightened being, is what I believe. But this path to enlightenment, several paths to enlightenment, in order to know that I have to go to a butchery, and I have to learn it from a butcher, not from a guru, not from any other sage or saint or sadhu or siddha. How do I do it? But against his wishes, biting his pride, swallowing his conditioned mind, very hesitant, he steps into the butchery. Just imagine, at the periphery of the city, Mithila, there is one butchery. Right at the entrance of just at the gate of the butchery, very hesitantly, this Rishi Kaushika keeps his feet inside. He just takes first 2 or 3 steps, and from within, from a far away place, there is a shout, and one butcher is shouting at from a distance and say, "Hey Rishi, wait, do not come inside. I know that lady has asked me to, sent you to meet me and talk to me. Do not worry, I will come to you. You cannot be here because you will not be able to sustain the stench and the view of meat being butchered. So wait there in an isolated place by the corner. I'll come. Give me some time." Again, this Kaushika is shocked. He is shell shocked. And he says, "How do you know that I've been sent by that Pativrata, that lady? How does he know?" Then he says, this Vyadha Dharma comes out, and after exchanging pleasantries, Kaushika asks the butcher, "How do you know that I've been sent by that lady?" He says, "I know why who has sent you. I know why she has sent you." And this narration, this incident of you coming to me to learn the path to enlightenment, different paths to enlightenment, enlightenment attained through just doing what we are supposed to be doing in our mundane life. That secret is something which you have come to learn. Someday, this secret will also go to the world. So you have come for that. Come, I'll narrate it. Maharshi Kaushika is shell shocked. He is not able to process and understand what is happening. He's still dazzled. That lady says, "I am not that innocent crow and a crane whom you just stared at and they burned to ashes." And this man says, "I know that you were supposed to come." He knows me by my name, but I'm seeing him for the first time, and he tells me who has sent me to him and why. What is happening? Who is enlightened? Am I or are they? They haven't sat in a meditative state even once in their life. They haven't performed any penance. They don't know what is meditation. They don't know what is dhyana. They don't know what is sadhana. They know nothing. Just normal people. How are they enlightened? And I performed penance for so long. I did so many types of yogas. How is it that they are also enlightened? And I am doubting whether I am enlightened or not because I have to learn a lot from them now. So that is when this Vyadha Dharma tells him, I know what is in your mind. I know the confusion that you have in your mind. But please understand, a learning can come from anybody. It is the Guru Tattva. Teaching doesn't necessarily come from an individual. A guru displays himself through an individual or through an instance, through a circumstances, through many things. So it is not necessary that guru, don't restrict a guru tattva to flesh and blood. First dismantle that stupid notion. Come to my house, let us talk. Saying so, he takes Kaushika to his house. Amongst the Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. The Shudra Varna is what Vyadha Dharma belongs to. That only goes on to say that Varnashram is not discriminatory. Varnashram is nothing to do with Brahmanas being the superior and Shudras being the most inferior. No, they are all the same. It is a misinterpretation. Saying so, Vyadha Dharma takes Kaushika to his house, and there he narrates the whole secret of Vyadha Gita. He narrates Vyadha Gita to Kaushika. This is the preamble or the history or the preface before the Vyadha Gita is narrated to Kaushika by Dharma Vyadha. And this entire story is being told by Markandeya to Yudhishthira during their Vanavasa. So we will take up Vyadha Gita. Now Rishi Kaushika has been asked to stand at a isolated place because he cannot take the stench of the meat which is being sold in that butchery, right? So this Vyadha, Dharma Vyadha, walks up to Kaushika and says that, please just give me some time. I'll be done with my work. I cannot just walk away. My customers are waiting. So, and I cannot leave it on my staff and then come over. So he says, fine, I'll wait for you. Then Rishi Kaushika wonders that if it were to be a situation where if I had wanted person of any varna, any tradesman, anybody would have just left everything to come and meet me. Just for a fact that I'm a Brahman, if not anything else. But this man is saying that you wait for me, I will come and I will talk to you. So, thinking so, if it were to be in a normal situation or if it were to be earlier, he would have been offended. But after experiencing the interaction with that housewife, the Pativrata, Kaushika realizes that I should not be arrogant, so I should wait patiently. After which, after some time, Dharma Vyadha comes to Kaushika and tells him, now you want to talk to me. Now you want to ask me. But this place where we are standing, in conversation is not conducive. Why don't we go to my house if it is okay with you? For which this Rishi Kaushika very happily agrees. Just every smallest of the things we have to dive deep into. Now, amongst the Varnas, the Brahmana, the Vaishya, Kshatriya, Shudra. Shudra is supposed to be the least in the order. And with that kind of a mindset, even in Satya Yuga, Rishi Kaushika unhesitantly accepts to go to a Shudra's house to discuss a dharma, to discuss karma, to discuss the path of Brahma Jnana for a common man. Imagine how he has stepped down, just step into the shoes of or get into the place of Rishi Kaushika. Today, if somebody, I'm not talking about a Varnashrama, if somebody cooks meat in in their house, people hesitate to have anything in their house who are strict vegetarians. If somebody has to go to a butcher's house, let us cross our hearts. How many of us are willingly, happily ready to go? Let's not be hypocrites. Not many. Always touch the subject with participation. That is when we will realize the depth of anything. Now, Kaushika, a rishi, Siddha, a yogi, has been invited by a butcher to come to his house to discuss about Brahma Jnana, to be attained by people who are not in the spiritual path, tapasya, penance, seeking, or whatever. So that is the state. So, however, Rishi Kaushika agrees. Then they both reach the house of Dharma Vyadha. Right at the doorstep, Dharma Vyadha offers him a bowl of water to wash his hands and feet, to wash his face and refresh himself. He gives him a cloth to wipe himself, and Kaushika gladly does everything. During that passage of time, when Kaushika is stepping into the house of Dharma Vyadha, nothing matters to him. He has forgotten which Varna this man belongs to. He has forgotten which profession, the butchery that he practices. He has forgotten everything. His mind is only focused and his attention is only on trying to know how to attain enlightenment being a common man. Here, this is the tapasya. When your attention is on seeking the ultimate truth, rest everything which is occurring around you is non-consequential. So very happily he goes into Dharma Vyadha's house. He is being given a asana, a place to sit, and Kaushika sits very comfortably. He rests very comfortably. Then Dharma Vyadha calls for some Shuddha Jala for him to drink. He accepts, he drinks the water in the butcher's house. But he has forgotten who he is. His attention is only on trying to know the truth. Then Dharma Vyadha brings all his members of the family, his wife and children. He says, please take his blessings. He is an enlightened one. So everybody is falling at the feet of Kaushika. Kaushika is blessing them all without realizing who they are, what their Varna is. After which he sends them all. Then Dharma Vyadha sits opposite to Kaushika. Very comfortably, both of them are sitting. For a moment, he looks around and he gazes at Dharma Vyadha, who this is Kaushika. And he sees that blissful, enlightened, delightful, glowing face of Dharma Vyadha, who is no less than a rishi, who is no less than a saint or a sage. He looks so sorted, he looks so enlightened. Looking at him, the first statement that Kaushika makes is that considering your state of enlightenment, I am sorry to say, and I feel sorry that you're born into a Shudra Varna. First statement. That is where the Vyadha Gita begins. Kaushika, when he says that he feels bad, and Kaushika is not mocking him. He's not making fun of him. He's not judging him. He genuinely feels how the mindset was, how the mind was conditioned by people, even in Satya Yuga, that they felt that Shudras are least, for which Dharma Vyada laughs and he says, Hey Brahmanottama, the, the Brahmana of the Brahmanas, now let me tell you the truth. You have come to ask this question and you have come to know that how can I, being a butcher belonging to Shudra Varna, and how that lady who is a housewife of a Vaishya, a businessman, how is it that we both are enlightened? So this is your question. So now let me narrate. So here begins the Vyadha Gita, right? Now I want to tell you all, I am not going to narrate the shloka by shloka and explain. I'll give you the excerpt. I'll just narrate the whole, the summary. I'll give the summary of the whole Vyadha Gita. Because if we go by shloka, it is quite repetitive as well as quite elaborate. Right? Now he says, first I want to explain what is Varnashrama. He tells, look, we have four Varnas. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Brahmanas are supposed to sit and study the Vedas. Brahmanas are supposed to teach the Vedas. Brahmanas are supposed to perform the rituals. They are supposed to educate. They are supposed to uphold the Dharma. They are supposed to take care of the society's thought processes in the righteous way. They are supposed to preach. They are supposed to preach what is right. They are supposed to tell people what is wrong. That is the responsibility of that Varna. That Varna it depends on the alms, bhiksha. They depend on the alms, they depend on dakshinas, they depend on others for their survival. Others karma phala, others physical karma. That is what they depend on. That is Brahmanatva. But they are absolutely, for their livelihood as well as their responsibility is to study, teach, uphold Dharma, take care of people and the society and so on and so forth. That is Brahmana Varna. Now coming to the Kshatriya, they have to keep their physical fitness optimum. They have to be very fit. They have to fight. They have to be very ferocious. They have to protect. Their mind is always about their physical strength. They have to look after the administration. They have to punish the wrongdoers. They have to protect the right doers. They are always engaged physically. And even their mind is on an offensive way in order to protect the meek and humble. So that is their Varna, Kshatriya Varna. Now I will tell you about Vaishyas. Their job is always to earn money. If tomorrow the kingdom needs money for a war, if somebody waged a war to protect, even the king goes to the Vartaka or the tradesman or the Vaishya, takes money to even wage a war. And consistently, this person who is born into a or practitioner of Vaishya Dharma or Vaishya Varna, he has to be always thinking about earning, and whatever he has earned, he has to think about protecting, he has to keep everything. That is what he is completely engaged in. His Varna is all about money, making money, earning money, protecting money, and whatever surplus that he has earned, he has to be always careful, cautious, scared of theft, robbery, scared of losing, scared of competition. Always the attention is on money. Attention is always on conserving money. That is Vaishya. Now, Brahmanas, I will talk about all the three Varnas. Brahmanas are busy. Ready, study Vedas, teach Vedas, perform the rituals, pujas, havans, this, that, upkeeping, teaching, and blah, blah, blah. All those things. Kshatriyas are very, very busy. They are very busy looking after the kingdom. They are protecting, they are fighting, they are, establishing the law of the land and so on and so forth. Vaishyas, as I just said, they are always worried about the money. Now you listen, Brahmana Uttama. Before I speak about the Shudra Varna, let me tell you, what is the greatest virtue which the gurus have taught? What is the greatest attribute one should have that the gods have told us? What is it? You tell. For which Kaushika thinks twice. He says there are many things that they have said, but amongst all of them, whichever is the best, hey Dharma Vyadha, you only say. Whichever is the best virtue, what is it? Dharma Vyadha says, again, you think and tell me. For which Kaushika finally agrees and concedes and says, service. Service is the best virtue. There you go. That is when Dharma Vyadha says, I am a Shudra. My Varna is of service. I serve the society. I serve everybody. I serve all the three Varnas. I serve the Brahmana. I serve the Kshatriya. I serve the Vaishya. I also serve the Shudras. The attribute and the Varna of Shudra is the supreme. Brahmana, as I said, is busy. Kshatriya is busy. Vaishya is busy. But a Shudra is serving. He is committed. The attribute of service comes in a Shudra, not much in these three other Varnas. So amongst all the four Varnas, you listen, Kaushika, Shudra Varna is the best. Shudra Varna is the supreme. I am proud to be a Shudra. The DNA, what he says, sanskara, from time immemorial, my forefathers to forefathers to forefathers, they were all service Shudra Varnas. They were all butchers. So, being a Shudra, servitude is in my blood. That is my character. Humbleness, which is propagated by the whole Varnas and all the teachings of the gurus and gods and every school of thought. I am humble. Humility, which is a crown jewel for any person who's on a path of spirituality. I have that humility. When I live so strongly by my Varna, and I am proud to be a Shudra, and I am so happy that I am a Shudra, that I am born in a Shudra Varna, because here it teaches me humility, it teaches me humbleness, it teaches me service. The emotion of servitude comes from us. We are the service providers to the society. Serving is in our DNA. So, amongst all the Varnas, to me, Shudra Varna is the supreme. Hearing this, I'm sure most of us here listening to this, and also then Rishi Kaushika is shell shocked. He is shell shocked. He says, you are proud to be a Brahmana, but I am telling you, I am superior to you. Because three greatest crown jewels of any living being is humility, humbleness, and servitude. All the three comes in my DNA. It comes in my blood. And I'm so happy that the divine has allowed me to take birth in a Shudra Varna, for which Kaushika bows his head and offers his salutations to Dharma Vyadha. So now he says, this is the true meaning of Varnashrama. Now coming to the Pativrata. The Pativrata who was there, whom you thought is useless, humble, meek, just a homemaker, who has no spiritual calling, no spiritual practices or awakening. You displayed your arrogance to that Pativrata who sent you to me. Now, he says, she is the practitioner of one of the greatest of the karma. Karma is well defined in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a book of karma, definition of karma. However, much before Bhagavad Gita was narrated, this Dharma Vyadha recites this to Kaushika. Now, you all should not forget this entire thing is being narrated by Bhakta Markandeya or Rishi Markandeya to Yudhishthira about what all happened, right? This is not the direct conversation we are discussing about between Dharma Vyadha and Kaushika. It is about Markandeya narrating this whole story to Yudhishthira when they are in Vanavasa, right? We'll carry on. Now he says, we are all born into different traditions. We all, in today's world, we have this luxury of shifting from the career which is practiced by our forefathers into some other. Even those days, it was definitely there, but it was very less. The shift from the from the vocation. Basically, the profession or the business that the forefathers were following is what was continued. Like Kshatriya's son will be a Kshatriya, Brahmana's son will also be a Brahmana who will do the works of the Brahmana. Kshatriya's son does the warrior work. Kshatriya doesn't mean that he's a king. Any warrior is a Kshatriya. Any soldier is a Kshatriya. So they are all born because that is a pattern in the family. Vaishya's son continues to be a Vaishya, a businessman. Shudra's son continues to be a Shudra. So he says, no matter which Varna you are born into, you are referring to that lady who was a homemaker. She is parallel to the Varnashrama because homemakers are in any Varna. Her commitment to the institution of marriage, whatever is the rules and whatever is the regulations, whatever are the things that needs to be done as a homemaker, she does it like a worship. She does it impeccably. She does it perfectly. She does it as most importantly as a worship to God. She is completely committed to that position of a homemaker. That makes her a pativrata. That pativrata doesn't have to do anything. That pativrata doesn't have to do any penance. She doesn't have to do anything. She just has to do what she is supposed to do. There is a list of things as a pativrata that she has to do. She does everything. That in itself is a path of enlightenment. Through that, she can attain moksha. Through that, she has already become an enlightened person. Now she can attain moksha. She, a pativrata doesn't mean the one who serves her husband only. No, it is a biggest misconception. A pativrata is the one who respects the institution of marriage. The responsibility of a pativrata is so high. She will, she is more matured than the man of the house. He can only earn and bring groceries and provide money for the family, raising the children, making sure that the food is cooked and served. Elders in the family are taken care of. Everybody's well being is looked after from clothing to food to shelter to children's education. Mother is the first teacher of a child. These are all the virtues, taking care of the in laws, taking care of her own parents, taking care of her own siblings and the man's siblings, everything. That is the most difficult of all. And if somebody does that as a worship, even the divine will bow down in front of that lady. It's not about worshipping husband. That is stupidity. Institution of marriage. Requisites that are there to be a pativrata is to make sure that the family lives in absolute contentment and the children are growing to become better citizens of the society. Now see the contribution of the pativrata to the whole human evolution. If a family is good, if the children are coming up good, there is a contentment in the family where everybody is happy. If there are 10 such families, the society is happy, society is prosperous. If A city full of such women are there. The city is prosperous. If the country is prosperous, it is thanks to these women who are pativratas. So, by this virtue being practiced all over the world, if the whole world has to be at peace and has to progress, every pativrata is responsible. She is the focal point. She is the one who deserves the karma phala of the whole world being at peace. Again, listening to this, Kaushika is shocked. He is shell shocked. Says, what are you saying? This is something which is coming to me as an enlightenment. He says, now I'll tell you about myself. I am a butcher by caste. But let me narrate. Though I am a butcher, by choice, I am a strict vegetarian. I don't eat the meat that I sell. What does it make me? What does it make that the pativrata, what she is? Define that pativrata in one word. That is the one who is a follower of Swadharma. Swadharma is the key. When we are committing our deeds, when we are performing our karmas strictly as a worship, not becoming one with it, as a worship to the divine, as a path of evolution, that karma, following that karma becomes your Swadharma. The evolution, the path of righteousness from within. You do not have to do anything else. When you follow your dharma, dharma based on your varna, varna that you are born into or that varna that you are adopting. You are a, let's say, Shudra, tomorrow you want to become a Kshatriya. It's an adoption of varna, crisscrossing was always there, which is there today also, then also. So the varna, the karma and dharma. Karma performed as a worship to its perfection, to the best of one's ability, itself is dharma. That dharma in itself is a path to the enlightenment. So Kaushika again is shocked. Now, of all the varnas, of all the people whom you have met in your life, worst of all, worst of Chandalas. Chandalas are the ones who perform the last rites in the crematoriums. Worst of them, or the lower than them of them also, the least of all which you can think of, the mindset of the world and the society is a butcher. Now you, a rishi, Brahmanottama, you are sitting in front of me to discuss about the path to evolution or salvation by performing our karma. Without getting into the spiritual processes, dhyana, sadhana, tapasya, penance, and other things. Now you listen. I am a butcher, but I am a vegetarian. I was born into this family of butchers. This brought food to the table. I had to provide for my family. That is my dharma. I chose to continue what my father had practiced. But I myself am a vegetarian. I do not eat. And I don't kill animals. I kill what has already been, I sell what has already been killed. I clean, I mince, and then I serve. I look after my staff. their welfare to the last bit. I will ensure that every employee of mine is well looked after. Their wages are paid regularly. That is my dharma. I ensure that my members of my family are well fed and well clothed and they are given good shelter. That is my dharma. And I ensure that whatever I earn, some percentage goes to charity. I ensure that I will not indulge sensually with anyone other than my own wife. That is my dharma. I ensure that I respect the gurus, I worship the gods, I am very, very committed to my guru, I serve his cause. That is my dharma. I take care of my parents like my gods and goddesses. First, I serve them without feeding them, without looking after them. I do not sleep. I will ask for their welfare before I sleep because they are old and they are hesitant to express if they are unwell. That's my dharma. I will ensure that my children study well. I will look into their studies, what stage are, how they are studying, are they doing good? That's my dharma. I will ensure that my children are healthy, my members of my family are healthy. Because once in a while I call the Vaidya, the doctor, to my house, get everybody checked, and keep myself also checked. That's my dharma. I ensure that there is cleanliness in the house. My dharma. I go to the society, I go to the neighborhood, and I will join the congregation of men in the society. And if there is anything needed for any member of the society, if they are in trouble, I will ensure that I participate in helping them to the best of my ability. My dharma. Everything that needs to be done, I do as my dharma. This is my Swadharma, and I am a butcher. Even when I sell the meat to customers who come to me, I sell only the buffalo meat. And they come to me, I sell the meat. I will never cheat on the weight. I will give them what is fresh. I will sell them whatever needs to be sold, and whatever is left over which cannot be preserved, I discard without any hesitation. Every aspect of my life, I am committed to my dharma. I am committed to my karma. I keep a watch on my karma. There is nobody who will guide me all the time. I can go wrong, or I can be careless, I can have certain shortcomings or certain things which I may not do out of laziness or out of, you know, arrogance or whatever reasons. I keep a check on myself, and I ensure that everything that needs to be done is done. My karma is as per the dharma. When my karma is as per the dharma, that becomes my swadharma. When I do only this, that is enough. That is enough for enlightenment. That in itself is more than enough for me to get enlightenment and mukti or moksha. Imagine the days of Satyuga where this is narrated. I mean, this incident happened, Vyadha Gita happened, which is being narrated in Dwapara by Markandeya to Yudhishthira. However, imagine the state of evolution. When we speak about Satyayuga, we think that, it must be the best, most idealistic society. Yes, it was. Now, by understanding the Vyadha Gita, Saransha, I've just come to the bottom line. Each Uvacha, Vyadha Uvacha is there, Kaushika Uvacha. Uvacha means he said, he said. So I have summarized the whole thing. So, in order to summarize whether that homemaker, the Pativrata, or this butcher, the Saransha, the synopsis or the executive summary of this Vyadha Gita is that whatever we do, whichever Varna we are born into, when we do that work as a worship, your karma is based on Swadharma. When you practice a Swadharma, you are sure to attain mukti and enlightenment. That is why in southern India there is this great saint and administrator of whatever, I mean, great, highly revered, Sri Basaveshwara. He says, Kayakave Kailasa means your karma is a path to Kailash. Kayaka to Kailasa. Kayaka itself is a Kailasa. When you are performing your Swadharma, you are already in your Kailasa. You are in the abode of Lord Shiva, which why Shaivites aspire for. So that is the beauty of karma based on dharma becomes Swadharma. So a lot of conversations happen. I just have summarized. Hearing this, Kaushika stands. There are different narrations to this, and he falls at the feet of the butcher. And he says, Today I know, I realized the supreme Varna is Shudra Varna. And most important thing is Swadharma being practiced, which is based on karma as a worship, is a path to salvation. There is nothing more one needs to do. Saying so, Kaushika takes permission. He is truly enlightened, and then he leaves the house of Dharma Vyadha. Right? Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the patient hearing on Vyadha Gita. Sai Ram.